Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 242 of the Fans of Power podcast. I'm Nathan Kennedy, joined as always by the Rotten Amato, Joe Amato, and the man himself, T-Rex, Tyler Baker. Gentlemen, how are we doing? I need to work on the intros again. I got to get back into the groove of that. Because Joe was like, oh, you go ahead and do it, because I'm the freshest of these three gentlemen. Everyone else is tired and didn't get enough sleep, even though we gained an hour last night, or their body clocks are off. So hopefully that doesn't affect the show.
I naturally get tired at 9 o'clock, 8:30 at night. That doesn't matter what day it was. It's just how my body's conditioned to start winding down at this time of year. So you people who bitch about my attitude and stuff, I'm doing this for you. So I don't want to hear none of your bullshit. You know, I'm depriving myself of good quality sleep to bring you guys entertainment, whether you like me or not here, people. For free.
Time change, it sucked
I hate it.
for me. It just threw me off. It's like, like I said, you got an extra hour of sleep. I was like, man, I just fell off. I'm going to talk about yesterday. Yesterday was Halloween. Hello, everyone. We'll get to you in a second.
Are you bummed? Did you still go trick-or-treating, Joe? Were you still knocking on doors? You're like, please, I know it's a pandemic. Trick or treat.
You don't understand.
Trick or treat.
I wanted some candy. Don't get me wrong. I wanted to do it, but I was like, I can't. And believe me, this is the most crowded it's been in this neighborhood in years because it's the first time it's hadn't rained in, I think, like 6 years. But I was tempted. I was like, nah, I'm not going to go out with these dirty fuckers. You don't know what they're doing in their house. But besides that, I did get in my 3 movies I have to watch on Halloween. I got to watch the original 1978 Halloween. I have to watch Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And then Trick or Treat has become a tradition. I have to watch that. It's great. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen it, you got to see it. But what sucked is I was all ready through the whole week. I was like, all right, every year, you know what's on TV? It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. And I was like, what the fuck? It ain't listed.
Yeah, I heard about
that. So I'm going through all the channels and different times. I was like, oh, maybe it'll be on the next day, the day before. I was like, nothing. And then somebody told me, they said, oh, apparently like Apple bought up the rights to have it, so it's on their service. I was like, that's a bunch of bullshit. I mean, I'm going to say it again. Not everybody's privileged enough to have money to where they can get all these extra services. We've been watching Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown for free since 1966. Once a year, it's a tradition that not only we keep carrying on, but can go to Next Generation, and they took it away, and man, that fucking pissed me off.
Do you not have it on DVD or anything?
No, and that's the thing. Go to eBay now. Of course, go to eBay now and look for any of these specials and see how they skyrocketed. Because I think the rumor is that even the Christmas special is going to be taken away, and that's going to be only on Apple. Well, that sucks. It's like, so yeah, even if I want it now on DVD, I'm not paying eBay prices.
Aren't they all on YouTube to watch, though? Like, I mean, you can find most of the Christmas specials.
I'll be honest. I looked for It's a Great Pumpkin, and it didn't show up, but like Garfield's Halloween special came up, but I don't think I could find it unless it's under some weird title. You know, people are going to be clever and just list it different, but I didn't see it, so that was a bummer.
I'm going to agree. I mean, I haven't watched any of the holiday specials on TV in probably well over a decade, if not more. But I did like the idea of all those things coming up. But it always pissed me off that they would play them so early in the month. Like when December hits, they'll play Rudolph and all of them. It's like, we got to hurry and get this shit out of the way so we can play our primetime bullshit. You know, it's like, I couldn't wait to see How I Met Your Mother Christmas special bullshit, you know, close to Christmas. And you're like, Rudolph, fuck that. You know, I just always hated that because I always seem to remember, maybe it's just my memories not lined up, but I always thought watching that stuff as they got closer to Christmas. And I don't remember if they aired the stuff closer to Christmas. Maybe it was always early on, but
no, you're right. Like, I mean, when we were growing up, it was very close. Either it was right on Christmas Day or like a 2-3 day weekend. But you're right. When it hit December, it's like December 1st, Rudolph's Shiny New Year or something. It's like on the 1st of December, and all these days, it's so damn early.
Yeah, I never like playing it on like Thanksgiving weekend. Like, why the hell are you blowing your wad on all these Christmas specials so early on, and then you have nothing to build up to? Like it was all hell. Even watching The Wizard of Oz like once a year on CBS, even though I owned it on VHS, it was still like a magical thing because I knew my parents watched it when they were kids. That one time of the year, and I thought it was cool to carry on the tradition. So when all those shows, like me and Nathan can remember, like on Nickelodeon when they would play the Halloween specials only in October. It'd be kind of a mixed bag on the weekend of Halloween. That's when they would play everything that was Halloween. It was just, I don't know. People are so. I know the whole streaming thing changed the game, but they've been doing it for years on cable, like, forcing the stuff out of the way. And then you see how they advertise and all their original shit, and that's what maybe we just kind of feel like it's like not important to maintain that tradition, so that way, well, we can get all kinds of good ratings for our like, who gives a rat's ass Thursdays and all that other nonsense.
Yeah,
it's a basketball reference for you.
When it comes to those specials, man, like I watched all of those as a kid, but as I got older, I kind of just drifted away from all of that. Sorry, no, I could just hear like the glong glong. I was like, what the hell's he got?
Oh,
I'm trying to look at that. It says Masters of the Universe. Where did you get that?
Oh, it's a Yeti, but I've got Errol McCarthy artwork. I've got the movie poster artwork. I've got Thundercats. I've got Turtles. I got Mortal Kombat 2, Predator, Chong-Li, and Snake Eyes. All things that motivate my ass in the gym are on my Yeti.
Pretty cool. I like the Chong-Li.
Too.
That's a surprise seeing Chong-Li on there. I like that. That's cool. That's cool. Well, let me say hello to everybody in this.
I get depressed watching the holiday stuff anymore. I can't watch Frosty or Garfield. I get depressed because I'm like, man, Christmas isn't like what it used to be. It just sucks. It's depressing. There's nothing to look forward to.
That's why most people have
a deep, dark despair.
That's why most people have kids, and so they can I feel like anyway, so they can get excited about the holidays again.
My nephew doesn't come in till after Christmas, so like there's nothing to build up at Christmas. I'm like, all right, please let the NBA come back at Christmas, so I've got games to watch Christmas Day. Other than that, there's nothing going on.
Is the NBA going to come back that soon already?
They're talking. They're trying to push it for Christmas. That way they can get revenue for the Christmas Day games, and if not, it'd be Martin Luther King Day.
It's all money based. I know the NHL. They said it would be. They're thinking like January, but that might get pushed back as well. I don't know.
Well, sooner the better, I say, for all of us.
I suppose.
Well, let me say hello to you suckers in the chat room, and then we can kind of get started into, well, we'll probably start with Buzz Off Pride. I think that'd be cool. But Zentron, Jaime Mares, JSP, DJ Tags, Michael Purvis, Curtis Ackerman, Grimbot, Papa Hut 69, Darth Baca, Daniel Carhunin, you're always promoting us, appreciate that. Gavin the Nerve, Masters Collector, Carlos, I won't say your last name because I don't want to butcher it, Febmon, and, I think I said Grimbot. And I got everybody, I believe. Let me just go one more part to the bottom. I know I forgot to hit the wrong thing. And Adam Gabbert. So there, I got you all. If I missed anybody, sorry about that.
What'd you say?
Huh? Yeah, I know. I speak them.
Adam, I got you all.
No, I know. No, he said, Adam, I said, I think I got you all. I said, if it's anybody.
Adam, I got you off, man.
And Zen Brown, thanks for popping in. But, before we do get into the regular topics, as for, any recent news for Masters, I know that Wave 4 of the WWE Masters figures, I think those were starting to pop up around stores and everywhere. I think that Wave 2 is maybe for Origins, popping up at some Walmarts. I know that they're available online. I know that I've seen many people with Manny faces, Orko, Scareglow, Trapjaw. And a bizarre thing is people who were getting, they did Amazon orders for Scareglow. I think in particular Scareglow, maybe others. And those people that got multiples, let's say 6 to 10 of them. They were getting theirs, but people that were doing single orders, they said, sorry, we can't, fulfill your order. So, tons of people had their orders. Yeah, it sucked for them. So tons got their orders canceled, but I guess they should be hitting the stores probably soon. And, of course, Snake Mountain has finally started arriving to people, and that's a big sucker. I mean, that thing is just gigantic. So, if you have the money, it's great. It would have been cool to own, but, man, that's massive. So I've seen that in a lot of pages.
Eric Amon, hook us up with those, 15 that you bought. You can give away 3 of those. It'd be all right.
Yeah, didn't Eric? Yeah, he bought, did he buy 7 or 6 or 7?
I want to say it was 6. I'm not sure. Eric, if you show up at some point in the chat, I know he does that sometimes. Let us know the number, or just leave a comment down below and give us the exact number. But you can spare 3. Come on, it'd be all right. Eric, I have the space now. I got the space behind me. I can just set the fucking thing in the floor, and it'll look great. Just come on. You know you want to.
There's no way I could fit it in my room. I have absolutely no room to fit something like that. It's just gigantic. It's even bigger than Castle Grayskulls for the classics lines. I couldn't fit. I don't know about Tyler. He'd probably have to clear up a whole fucking shelf in back of him.
I'd have to get rid of this, which I intend to. This computer I don't use anymore. I need to just get rid of it. So if I wanted to do something like that, I could, but just got to get rid of all that stuff, get it out, box it up. I don't care, whatever. So I'm surprised what I can do. If I'm motivated enough, I can make room for damn near almost anything. But I'm not motivated as much because I feel like I got to rearrange everything. I'm like, oh god. It's like, and this room's the hardest because I feel like when you mess with one shelf, it's just then you find yourself dusting each figure. Like, oh god, then you feel like, okay, let me change this up, and it's a whole big production.
I have those canisters of air. I don't know if you guys ever used them, but that's how I was like dusting at one point. It's like, I can't dust hundreds and hundreds of figures.
That would be a good way.
I just went
you would probably have to like kind of really keep a distance though, because I feel you get close enough, it starts to just blow shit over everywhere.
But it's quick. It's instead of grabbing the figure and wipe, use it, done. Put it back up. Just definitely don't be doing it with anybody who has like a loose little like weapon, like my horror stuff with Jason and some of those real small weapons or accessories. You do that, blows like, where the fuck did it go?
And not to mention if any of that NECA stuff falls off the shelf, you run the risk of something breaking on it.
Oh man, hell, just taking the shit out of the box, you're running the risk of breaking it. You pay all that money for a NECA figure, like you damn well. Those things ought to come with insurance.
I think they can do them better. These days, it seems like they're a little stronger, but the earlier on with some of the NECA stuff, those things were popping and breaking. Like I said, when I broke my RoboCop, it just pissed me off. I was like, what do I do now? His legs just busted off. And I tried to glue it on. I was like, it wouldn't glue back on. And that sucked. I think their quality is better these days, but I guess with anything, stuff can break. But early on, it was bad. Hell, even remember the 2000X figures. I remember I heard everybody talking about, my Triclops head popped off. I was like, well, mine hasn't popped off. Sure enough, 2 months later. Mine did 2 months later. I was rearranging, putting the stuff. I was like, oh, fuck, it popped off. So I have a Triclops with a popped off head that I had to reattach.
I did want to give an update. Our local Walmart that I found the Origins figures at, they actually did somehow manage, even with all those He-Man and Skeletor clogging the pegs, they did have a restock with Wave 1, because I saw Evil Lynn, Man-at-Arms, Tila, and everybody was there. Yeah. So hopefully a few more He-Mans and Skeletors will be purchased. Those guys will be gone, of course, and then if Wave 2 does show up, hopefully I can at least Scareglow, or like... Joe, if you find any out in the wild, or any of you guys in the chat, like if you come across an extra Scareglow, just hit me up, because I'm not going to spend $300 on a vintage one. I'll just take the Origins.
You needed another...
I will put Scareglow on the shelf.
Right, definitely. If I see another Scareglow or even Orko, because, like, even Danielle, she said that she's not flipping over Origins, but she said that Orko does look cool as shit. If that pops up, she'd love to get it. And same thing with you, Tyler. I mean, I know you're not flipping over them, but if there's any of those Origins that you thought, hey, might be cool, and I catch it, I could always pick up one for you.
Well, it's got to be in person, too. Like, I don't want you picking up Clanchap if his face sculpt looks like dog shit in person, and if Ninjor looks diminutive, or, it's, they got to look like, really, really good, because I'm still going to pick up some for Bryant, but
you know what I'm hoping with it, if anything? I didn't mean to cut you off, Tyler, but at least with these figures
but you did anyway. I love how you keep doing it. Keep apologizing for it, as if like it's like you're like a crack addict here.
Could you imagine one time when I said like, hey, I didn't mean to cut you off, and Tyler's like, no, fuck that, you did cut me off. Now I'm going to get back to talking. I'm just sitting still, just listen to him.
No, not you. This is my turn.
It would
I
be great.
I just act like a bunch of kids. Like, Nathan, he's talking over me.
I just sit here like...
And he's like, mute his mic, Nathan. Mute his mic. So you see me move my...
What the hell did you interrupt me for?
So, at Walmart, just what Nathan said, they restocked, and there's like, more Evelyns, Tilas, Man-at-Arms.
The one down the road from me, I saw it today. They had plenty of everybody. If I had more money, I would have picked up Beastman and Man-at-Arms for Brian today.
And I tell you what, Beastman and, Man-at-Arms is, he almost looks exactly the same, except they mustached him, but Beastman is probably, from all of them, is the one I was like, okay, I think he looks pretty cool.
He does look really good, but, I'm still not going to buy and put him in the collection, but he does look really good, where I'm like, I think Brian would really enjoy playing with all of them.
Yeah, he would. He is a cool looking figure, but it would be great if, like, let's say once those figures sell out and Wave 2 comes out, that at Walmart, they don't restock Wave 1. Like, I know their mentality, keep getting out Skeletor and He-Man. I'd hope that since they're gone, like, if they got rid of the clutter, get rid of it. The Wave 2, when it comes to Walmart, just sell Wave 2. No more Wave 1.
Well, that's why it would make sense if you're going to push the battle armor stuff, then you don't need the others on the shelf.
Exactly. Because that's what's going to happen is, remember, they said starting in 2021, Target and other stores can get it, meaning Target's going to get Wave 1 for the first time, then Wave 2. So it's like, Walmart, don't make a mistake and flood up more with those goddamn fucking He-Man and Skeletors. Because you're right. Because then when Wave 3 comes, we'll get the battle armor. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, it's nice to see them sell out and hopefully keep selling. But especially when Christmas comes or a cartoon and whenever, hopefully can light fire. I mean, people are buying them, but you can only buy so many He-Man and Skeletors.
I mean, there's only adults buying these things. I think it's safe to say most kids are not going down the aisle and probably getting it because there's nothing to associate with it. Hell, the Kevin Smith cartoon, God only knows when that's actually coming out. And then the other one that was brought up is A Fart in the Wind. No one knows when that's coming out. So there's just nothing to it's just strictly adults buying this stuff right now. Maybe there's some kid out there who did think it was cool. So not to say it's not, because I'm sure some guys are like, well, my kid liked it and I forced him to buy it. So he saw it on the shelf and he wanted it, or some shit like that. But,
yeah, I mean, like I said, you can only do so many things with these extra He-Man and Battle Cats and stuff. Like last week, there's the Battle Armor Skeletors and Battle Armor Fakers and Copycats, and you got the Anti-Eternias. See that cheap plug? I did it again.
Are you done?
I said never do. I'm done. I'm done. All right, Nathan, what do you want to say?
I got nothing. You guys want to go ahead and do the commentary first?
Let's go into the commentary.
I will say, I watch Friday the 13th Part 8 is like one of my Halloween movies that I watched over the weekend, and I just thought like it would be fun if we did like our own Roger Corman version of Friday the 13th, and we put Joe in as Jason, but he's wearing that mask, and instead of a kid that was like traumatized by like drowning in a lake or something like that, like nobody fed him at camp, so he just kind of like disappeared and he drowned in a tub full of eggs, and then comes back to haunt people because he just wants their food, and and Jason takes Joe's diner or Joe takes Manhattan. He's going around eating people's food.
Instead of breaking in the diner to throw the chef, I'm breaking in the diner to eat the food.
Just eat the food, and you break into this cab and you think it's blood all over the place. No, it's just ketchup. He went batshit crazy because they had Heinz ketchup, and the guy in the wheelchair took the last calzone, so Joe puts a machete in the guy's face, and
Let's do it.
I just amuse myself because I feel like you can insert Joe in almost anything, and it's quite comical. At least to me, it is.
That's great. Oh shit. Well, Nathan, if you want, you can get it ready. Tyler can do the countdown, and we can do a commentary on Buzz Off's Pride. You can let the fans know what to do.
Link is down below. I probably should have stressed that early on to go ahead and get that loaded up before we get ready to start this. But an episode from NYP. This is tail end of season 1. Has Joe's cameras given me fits this go around?
No problem.
But I am correct in that, right? It's the ass end of season 1.
No,
it's not.
No, it's in that direction.
The internet lied to me then.
Yeah, it's not the last episode of the season.
No, I said it's toward the tail end. It's like probably episode 20 something of season 1.
Yeah, it's heading toward the tail end of it. Yeah, because I think it was like right after. I think the Snake Pit had aired, and then this one showed up. I think that was the order, which is why it was such a disappointment at the time.
When this episode came on, it was a disappointment at the time?
I thought it was. Like, I didn't like it at all, and then I grew to love it. Actually, I think once it came out on DVD, because I just thought it was such a. When they have an episode that's packed with characters that you're, oh my god, Cobra Khan and Rattler, and all in the same episode. And then you have an episode with, you hear it's going to be giants. Like, is it going to be Megator and Titus? Like, no, it's made up giants, and you don't even know the damn names. You're like, okay, what the hell is this shit? But having said that,
we'll go ahead and get into more of your. We'll go ahead and start it. So Tyler, go ahead and give us the countdown, and we'll go ahead and get it going.
3, 2, 1, action. But yeah, I just, that's kind of how it was with a lot of the episodes. If we got one that was just a major ass kicker, and it's followed up with a kind of one that just doesn't have that kind of character. At least for me, because I'm always about like, hey, who's in this episode? And when you kind of feel like, why are they making up more characters when we have a whole legion of characters that aren't used? That's what I was thinking with as this series was coming on. Each new episode, I'm like, you don't need to be inventing shit, unless it's Larry DiTillio. So, but yeah, once I kind of got over that, because I love Buzz Off's portrayal in the series, and I think I grew to like the Giants a lot more because they were in Council of Evil, which it was cool to see them along with everybody else.
Written by Randall Littlejohn. What a weird last name.
And
that
Christy
is.
Marks, who is a well-known animated series writer in the animation community.
Joe, did you kind of feel the same way when you watched this as Tyler did, that it was sort of disappointing coming off the heels of an episode that had a lot going on with it? Or did you?
It wasn't like that I was really disappointed, because I mean, anytime there was new characters, because it's always interesting when you see a story, read a story, watch a cartoon, and there's something different. It's like, oh, it's cool, new giants. I could see what Tyler means. You definitely, it'd been great to have Titus and Megator, but that had to be probably Preternia. But they still had 3 new characters. Like, it's different. The one thing that irked me in the episode was, I was like, why do all these characters always have to have some dickish pride or problem or attitude? And it kind of annoyed me. But as with Tyler, the more I watched, I enjoyed it. It was like I had different reasons I didn't like it than Tyler, but I still enjoy this more. And then you definitely see when watching, I was like, holy shit, when you look at this in reality, especially when you see what you see later, it's like, Bossoff is one strong fucker. I mean, he is strong. The things he goes through and what happens to him, I mean, they kill any normal person. And yes, I know that these are, fantasy characters, but it's a hell of a beating you'll see in things that he takes and what happens. It's like, he's strong, his body-wise, and of course, what he does in strength later. But I grew to enjoy this a lot more, and I'll say why after probably the episode. But yeah, I enjoyed this.
I'm gonna say that I'm kind of in the boat of, this definitely seems like an episode that would have to grow on you, because having watched this was the first time that I have watched it. I kind of came away from it just a little like, that was it. Okay.
Well, because it is kind of like a filler episode almost. When you have these big epic episodes, and then you have this kind of random episode kind of thrown in between. Yet you can't argue that it's kind of a filler episode. It's just kind of a standard story with, we've kind of seen this kind of story play out before. But I think which we see Buzzoff as a very stubborn, individual in the episode Sky War. So I like that they do play off his kind of prideful mentality here, that he's been embarrassed, even though it's like, they're giants, dude. Like, He-Man is really the only person who can take this on. But we get it, that you want to feel like if you're part of this team and you're a great warrior for where you come from, you like to think that you can handle whatever's thrown at you, and obviously you can't in this situation. So yeah, you do get, which we've all dealt with assholes in school that give you grief. You kind of struggle on how to fight back, whether it's with words or physicality, and you want to get some payback, and
you'll keep coming. Definitely. And as you've seen, that's what it was, one of my examples. He just got bitch slapped. I mean, that far back, busted through 2 trees, which would kill anybody. And then lifting up, I was like, damn, and you're right. I mean, he's ready to fight. And you could tell that's the thing. Look how strong he is, how badass. He's probably used to winning all his fights. This is something probably different to him. It's like, oh my God, this guy kind of just, kicked my ass a little bit. I'm going back. Even though he knows he'll probably lose, it doesn't matter. He's like you said, it's his pride, no pun intended, but it is his pride. He's going back. I'm going to try to fight again. But you got to know when to back down, and you got to know when to get help at times, which is basically kind of the moral of the story. Don't go in hot-headed and thinking, Jesus Christ, I got to do this myself. You got to know you can't win every fight, and you're going to need help. But I just like how he clenches his claws. Oh, God damn, like he wants to keep going. But yeah, this one, it grew on me. But almost like what you said with it being a filler episode, at least cool, because it's something we'll get to later. Of like, yes, we understand continuity, we know, but that there's great battles. There was an epic thing that just happened, before this episode. But at times, like you said, there's a filler thing. Calm down. Has a basic story of, like, this is the objective, what's going to be the outcome, done. It doesn't have to always flow. So especially when you're pumped, like you said, the other episodes, like, Jesus, it went from this to this. It is different. But I kind of started enjoying, Belsdar, Chazdar, whatever the hell their 3 names are. I was like,
yeah, they're known as like the ABC Giants, but Asdar, Belsdar, and Chazdar.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and I admit, those would have been some cool figures to have in the 2000 X line.
Yeah, and I embrace them. I would carry them in my regular canon as well, because I really do like the Giants. Obviously, I was hoping things might be tweaked a little bit with Titus and Megator in this, but it's nice to have like evil giants in current like He-Man canon as well, like current day, not something to do with pre-Eternia. And it would make sense that you have. I mean, we had giants in the Filmation series, so to have this trio. I mean, you don't know if they're brothers or they're just they're last of this dying race, because we don't see many giants in this show in general. But it's a vast planet. It could be giants all over the place. But they're colorful, they're menacing, they're assholes, and it's fun when you see them pop up in the Council of Evil and the trilogy that ends with the Last Stand, which we'll get to.
Good to see that they weren't just throwaway characters for one episode. Good to see that they made
that they did bring them back, and they're colorful. The visual design of all three of them is very unique. Like if they were to bring them back in various other canons by someone who knows what the hell they're doing, I think it'd be awesome. Because I think what's that, Joe?
It's just a missed opportunity figure-wise. I mean, like I said, we could have got them, but instead we got that crappy Battlehawk that you just seen in that part right there. It's like, oh, but you make that vehicle. I just wondered sometimes what their logic was. Why not? I know, yes, a lot of tooling, but it was a missed opportunity to have three awesome figures.
Well, yeah, that's how Mattel is, man. We got to get out as many variants as we can, and it's just like, well, all those variants have new tooling as well. It's not like you just repeat the same damn figure over and over again with a disco color scheme over and over again.
But go ahead, Nathan. More from you. I know I've been babbling.
I mean, we'll get to the part later on in the episode. I think my main issue would be coming here towards the middle of it. We have Man-at-Arms, Ram-Man, and then Adam, who's going to go and transform into He-Man going with him. And I understand it being a focus on Buzz-Off, but they do so little in the episode itself that it almost seems like they didn't need to be there to begin with. Like, they don't really have much of an impact of what's going on between Buzz-Off and these guys. They're not even there to even really help Buzz-Off when he goes to get the crystal at the end.
It could have been an episode where it's just He-Man and Buzz-Off.
Yes.
And then He-Man is left on his own to fight the giants in the village and to keep people from being killed, and Buzz-Off is so fixated. That's why I kind of feel like, it's cool that you have a group, but honestly, it'd be better if it was like Cyclone and Roboto or Manny Faces instead of like Man-at-Arms again. We get it. And Ram-Man, which, this is my least favorite Ram-Man. But it really, I kind of agree with Nathan. Like, I think it would have been more interesting if it was just a duo going to check this out. Like, He-Man's in the Wind Raider. Plus, going back and revisiting this too, I kind of felt like Adam should have transformed into He-Man before they even left. Like, to jump out of the Wind Raider when the battle's going, hey, go find He-Man. I kind of felt like, okay, you guys could have written that a little bit differently, where He-Man's already there. It's one of those like nitpicky things of like, not that Ram-Man's going to notice, but it just kind of feel like I like to really play up that you do a good job of trying to keep the secret identity intact and not leave loopholes for people like pick it apart and stuff like that. Like, oh, how could you believe that? And you can believe it. You can write. It just depends on how you write it. But just these three giants alone, I so wanted, and I ran this by Axel years ago, and I never did get around to getting it done, but I so wanted to use one of these giants in a Jack and the Beanstalk commission and have like this thorn-like beanstalk ensnaring He-Man and Moss Man that's like made from Evil Seed, and having one of these giants like climbing up to get a hold of as they're ensnared in like all these thorns and stuff, like, because I love Jack and the Beanstalk, and I still want, no one steal that idea from me. I don't want to see anybody else do it unless it's like Axel or Kevin doing that. But I just felt like using these giants in like a Jack and the Beanstalk story would be so badass.
It'd probably be hard to get Axel to do a commission right now.
Oh, now it's mission impossible. Like, he's so busy with us, there's no way in hell. Even I could offer him $5,000, and it's like, Mattel's having him, do this instead. I guess I'm just a bologna sandwich anymore. And Kevin's just as busy. I'm running out of professional artists to do my own artwork.
You just gotta start doing your own.
I can't draw anymore, not like I used to, and even then it was amateur at best.
I just we already had Buzz Off crashing through right there, and then we're gonna basically
get
get it again with Ram Man. I'm like, why do that?
Play up that whole high impact thing, which is one of my gripes about the entire series. Everyone goes flying all over the place. Like, let's save a little bit of those impactful moments when they really.
But it was so stupid to the sidestep he did. It was just like how the other giant, like you said, did the Buzz Off. Like you said, Ram Man absolutely was not needed in this. I mean, Man at Arms, they had him because I know they're always got to have him there for, he has to be. But Ram Man felt like, let's just throw another, hero in there so we can just show him off a little more, because he really felt out of place, especially when it's like, who thought that was a good thing to write, to have Buzz Off fly into something from a sidestep and then Ram Man the same exact way. It was just.
And when you guys are talking about like the impacts of like the hits, when he bitch slaps him, like just smacks him with his hand, earlier he goes through a bunch of trees and goes flying, but here later on he's actually going to hit him with the hammer, and he just hits one tree and then falls to the ground. I'm like, how?
Yeah,
how does that
work? And it's not just us. I mean, you're watching this impact, like or reverse it. Have one hit not be as impactful, and then the second one's like when they're really angry, then you should knock Buzz Off flying.
And you think the hammer would do it? Out of all things, you think the hammer.
Well, yes, and it should have been like that. And that's just one of those things I feel like you can't have everybody be as strong as He-Man. If you're going to have moments where people fly a great distance back from a punch or a blast, like it needs to be used sparingly. They overuse it way too damn much in this entire show.
What if they had some sort of new side villain that was hanging out in one of those houses that looked through the window and saw the transformation that you used later on in the series, that he shows up and he's like, I know the identity of He-Man, or like goes to Skeletor.
Yeah, some sleazy guy who thinks he can kind of one up and like, here, give me money, Adam, and I'll keep your secret identity safe. And
why did they use Man at Arms so much in NYP?
I don't know why. I feel like the character never is like this much. I mean, obviously he is a staple. He is an original character. I feel like, he needs to be in every incarnation of He-Man, but you just kind of feel like you can't break away and pair He-Man up with, Cyclone and Fisto for a change. It's like you just got to set up with Man because hey, they're after the Emerald Orcus. Oh, hey, they're after the Crystal. Blah blah blah. Hey, they're after the old. It's like he's the captain of exposition. It's just like he is just strictly there as a tool to let the audience know what the hell's going on because, oh, look, a new invention. And it's just, he's so one-dimensional, a lot of times. And I blame the writers on that. I love Man at Arms. He is a quintessential character, but writers just never do. Paul Dini in Teela's Quest gave Man at Arms one of the most memorable moments of the entire series, in his time with Teela. And it's just like nobody else seems to know what to do with the character other than he makes weapons. You have a bunch of crazy shit to, throw out last year. Like, this makes no sense, man. Like, they Batman him out so much, I feel like, in the show.
See, He-Man got to show himself earlier, as you've seen. How he caught both their weapons, threw them back. You're right. It would have been, I think, so much better just Buzz Off, He-Man. That's it. Because as you've seen, as we've been looking and watching everything, what has Man at Arms and Rayman done so far?
Nothing.
You haven't seen nothing. It's bad. Hell, Orko could have did something. He could have did anything.
Well,
blind one of them.
Coming along too. I'm cool with Orko going along with almost anything because I love the character so much. So I'm fine with him because he's like your buddy who wants to tag along. Sometimes he does come through in the clutch. But
anything. He could have did a spell to slightly blind one of the giants before He-Man did something. Anything. But to have Man at Arms and Rayman do almost absolutely nothing and accomplish nothing, it's like I didn't understand.
Here we go. Here's the hammer hit, and then it's just like boom, boom, and then he's on the ground. Like that's it.
Through the tree that time.
But you're right. It should have started off with the backhand that landed into a tree, and then the hammer when it was hit. Or even if they started with the hammer should have rammed him through all the trees. So that is a good point, Nathan. I know what you mean.
Well, it's like he sells that hit with the hammer and just hitting the tree and falling to the ground harder than he did getting smacked and going through a bunch of trees, being buried under a bunch of trees.
Gets right up from
yeah.
Sell a thing.
The Giant's got a strong hand, strong backhand or whatever.
Strong hand. Yeah, that pimp slap, man.
Forget the hammer.
I'm sure that's what Joe would do. He'd go to that apple tree that he takes all those girls to back in the day, and he'd be like, "Hey, what'd you bring me?" And it's like, "Oh man, I forgot. What was it? I wanted that Burger King original chicken sandwich." And then he'd lift his hand up and just like, "No, I don't know." I like to think of Joe as just like,
"Why do you make me do it?"
I think just like Joe back in the '90s was just this pimp.
So he probably had like Coolio hair and everything like that too.
I did that once. I got my mom to do that. Yeah, I need to find the picture and like scan it or take a picture of it.
I went straight from Ultimate Warrior hair to then Bud Bundy hair, and that was it. That was like my transformation of hair for the longest, like the Ultimate Warrior, and then
Joe.
Yeah, exactly. And that was it. Looked like Bud Bundy for I don't know how many years, but look at what you caused, Buzz Off. All the destruction. Just because you were a hothead, you wouldn't let people know what was going on. He caused all this.
But see, I don't understand that either. Like he didn't really, because they were already going to go and do that. I mean, yeah, if no one stopped him, it probably would have been easy peasy. But it's like, if anything, Ram Man started to cause more destruction than Buzz Off did.
Well, look, and we got three heroic warriors here in the village, and He-Man is there, the most powerful man in the universe, and these giants still did all this. Like, it was going to happen no matter what. But Man knows it could, he's an asshole, so. I feel like...
Perhaps you want to explain why my sorry ass couldn't help him either.
Yeah, with all my weapons and shit. Where were you? Where was I? I was at home.
At least Ram Man helped a little kid, I guess.
And
guess it makes
the thing,
somewhat special.
The thing right here where Buzz Off admits to, like, he had an altercation with him earlier, I feel like it goes back to when you said it should have just been Buzz Off and He-Man. Also have Orko there, because Orko could kind of be that person that would let it slip to He-Man that something had happened previously. Like, there's ways to work that around better. Like, I know him admitting it as part of his pride and all that stuff, and we're lumping that all together, but I think Orko was with him at the beginning, and then he just nothing the rest of the episode. He should have played a part in that.
It means more, because I feel like the one person you definitely don't want to disappoint is He-Man, and He-Man's the one guy that, even in the most dire situations, like, can admit that, what you did was wrong, but let's make it right, buddy, Whereas Man-at-Arms has just always got to stick up his ass. And Rain Man just goes, duh! At least this version. This version's so unlike.
And I
can't stand NYP Rain Man.
I was just kind of, in a way, just bummed out about this ending, because Buzz Off goes to confront them one last time. And I'm assuming, it's like, all right, well, He-Man and Ram Man and Man-at-Arms are going to stay back and help the village and clean up and stuff, but like no one else comes with him? That just doesn't make sense after everything he just told them.
Well, yeah, logically, you kind of feel like, look, you can't go after, look, all the four of us alone couldn't take them on. You're going to go there again, which we, but they don't have time.
Yeah.
We get it, and it's more about the
moral of the story,
redemption for Buzz Off here, but which is done right. Like, his size comes in handy. That these guys, in this big house, he gets in and gets out, and playing the whole name calling thing. You like when you it's
you don't phase them. Yeah. He's sitting there calling them names, figuring, it really get to him this time, but then it doesn't. The thing for me that I felt like there should have been a more payoff of, like, the Giants in a way really getting their asses kicked. Like, I know Buzz Off's trying to do some stuff here and eventually gets out. But what's to really, like, impact the Giants to think, okay, he just escaped.
They could just go right back.
They go right back. It's like if they know that they got this shit kicked out of them by He-Man and Buzz Off really bad, they think, okay, I'm going to think twice. I might not go back to this place, but they're all perfectly fine. Then he flies out and leaves with the jewel, takes it back to the place. It's like, yeah, why wouldn't they just go right back? There was no effect of thinking, I'm not going to go back
there
because this will happen.
It's just over. Like,
it's just over.
See, I wish that Buzz Off had talked or, like, tricked them into, like, knocking the shit out of each other and tearing their house down to where it's, when it's all said and done, their house is destroyed. They're all knocked unconscious because their anger just got the better, and because they kept colliding into each other. Like the hammer went into this guy's head, the mallet went into this guy's foot, and they're just an absolute mess from Buzz.
Yeah, there had to be a consequence. Yeah, there should have been something that really happened to them at the end of this episode to make them think, I'm never going back to that place. But how it ends, it's just kind of, It's like there's non-climactic. They left. It's like, oh, okay. Then, all right, let's go fucking right back out and go over there. But I don't know. I mean, it's a good episode with, it has good parts, but some parts, could have been better. Not being dickish, just,
so, if they had put us in charge of writing our own comic book series, we could do a better version of this. We could take the good things about this episode and improve upon
and make it better.
And we'd have Deucen's blessing. He wouldn't be telling us that we don't know what we're doing because he created him.
Right. Yeah, it was very anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, you got nowhere to go. Well, he flies through their chimney, and then that's it. That's it. They open the door, and they're just like, well, he's gone, I guess. Well, so much for that.
We can't go back there. What's going to happen? Nah.
Like,
that ended.
Like, yeah, they wrecked it. They won for a little bit of time, but, like, nothing will stop them from coming back. And, like, it's not like Buzz Off and He-Man are just going to, like, hang around for the next few weeks, like, oh, the crystal's back. Well, time to head back to the palace. Like that.
Well, plus too, they established early on, like that was one of that. I'm not going to call them masters because it's so lame. That was one of those heroic warriors. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, starting up shit with one of those guys. Like, that reputation should have followed through. That these giants should have gotten their asses handed to them in some form or another to play. So that way, when they joined with Skeletor, they really got a bone to pick with He-Man and Buzz Off.
And they did call them, and they loved using that term, Masters of the Universe, in this episode quite a bit. Must have heard at least 3 times. It felt like it's like, God, your hammer fist
is
like,
so lame, unoriginal.
Yeah, they loved using it. And they brought the berry to the Queen Andrino. I made a figure of her, by the way. That was pretty tough to do. It was interesting.
That.
Yeah. Again, not promoting myself. Yeah, not whoring myself out. But yeah.
Link down below. Hit Joe up for a custom. Man needs to eat some Popeyes.
Yeah. 20 pieces.
Which,
that was delicious.
That reminds me, I need to put like a Popeyes like chicken box like on there next to your Spam and everything too. I meant to do that.
Thank you. You should do it next time. And this is weird. We still, like I said, we never got these morals in the United States. They were in Canada and, of course, the DVD, but still never understood why we didn't get the morals. Kids definitely need them these days, I'll tell you that. But
Lane Court, for that. Cut that shit off, man. We got to hurry and play Dragon Ball versus Yu-Gi-Oh! Or whatever the hell's going on.
Dragon Ball versus Yu-Gi-Oh! No.
Well, that's the end of that. And some people here, like Jason Havlik, said, that was a pretty weak sauce ending. So
it was honestly, I think it was kind of good to have something like that because when it comes to NYP, I've probably watched, and I hate to admit this, but I've probably only watched like the first 10, 15 episodes, and that's it. So I need to just get the entire series and just watch them all. That way I can
watch them all right here on YouTube.
Yeah,
all 3.
Yeah. I should probably do that, but I kind of like having them in a physical form that I can go sit on the couch. Well, I guess I could do that on the YouTube app as well, just sit there. But
hey, wait. As we just said earlier, maybe you should get the DVDs because you never know who's going to take something away from one platform to the next, and you can't stream it. So you better buy the DVDs.
So out of 10, what would you give this episode?
I'd say for me just a 7. It's not being an ass, not saying it was absolutely great.
I think 7's being generous. Like I don't think 7's like cutting it short. Like I think that's to me that's like a high rating. I think.
Yeah. Well, I give it a 7. Like I said, it was not absolute perfection. It wasn't absolute dog shit. It had good moments. It definitely could have been better, as all 3 of us said, with points that could have been changed. Yeah. But I'd still like to for me, I'll give it a 7 still.
I'm gonna go lower and. I'm probably gonna go with a 5. I just wasn't digging it. Like I get the idea behind it, and this will lead also into our discussion with what we think fans deserve in terms of modern Master Universe comic books that hit the shelves. So I'll leave it at that until we get to the discussion. But Tyler, what would you give it out of 10?
I give it a 5, which earlier on it would have been a lot lower. It would have been like a 3. But I like the Giants a lot. I like Buzz Off a lot. We picked this episode apart. But even before that, I like it more. I would not put it in the top 10.
No.
And honestly, like when you go back and look at the list of episodes, it's hard to find. Like, I think that there's a discussion at some point because we've never done a top 10 of this series. And looking down the list, I mean, there's some episodes I actually love, and then there's episodes I'm like, God, that episode sucked. And there's a bunch of forgettable episodes in both seasons of He-Man, like a bunch. When we go back and look at it, I mean, not to say that they didn't have good moments and great characters in them, but overall, I mean, you think about episodes like Turnabout, To Walk with Dragons, Machines and Men, just all these like shitty episodes, like In Too Deep, where Man at Arms is back in that fat fish's stomach again. Like nobody liked that. Like universally, like what the hell is this shit again? I remember people bitching on the Orb back then when that episode came out. Like, God, that was one of the worst parts of the movie that we saw, and now we're doing a whole
that
episode of Man at Arms stuck in the damn fish again.
Again, yeah.
Oh God, so yeah, it would be hard to put together a top 10, I think for this series, just because there's.
Well, how about we do that? I'll if I don't watch them all on YouTube, maybe I'll go to a certain website that Tyler is frequent. I won't name drop it, but I might go to that website and get the complete series on Blu-ray, and I'll sit and once I sit and I get it all done, which that might take a little bit of time, but once I'm done with that, then I think we should do like a top 10. Or if you think that might be too hard, maybe we could make it lower than that and make it like a top 8.
It may be hard to make 10, just off the top of my head, but if we stop and think about it, I mean, I think of it because one of the episodes I threw out to Joe and Nathan was like the Mr. Van Gar, only because Cyclone's in it. The rest of the episode stinks. The samurai stuff, like of He-Man Skeletor, like it's just a way to get the shitty variants in. It's all about Cyclone's introduction in the episode, and it's badass with him and He-Man going at it. But the rest of the episode stinks.
I hated those variants in that episode. I hated the variants in the
episodes are like that. They've got good moments, but overall they're dud episodes. They just don't hold up. The stories aren't that great, and that's why Filmation will always reign supreme. Like, the substance matters more over the style. And this series is more about style and, overall, and you can ask the Reverend E talk about that one, and Deucin and Danielle and Val about and Meliana. They may have different opinions about it, but, I think you'd be hard pressed to find, episodes that are so much better than the stories that were told in Filmation.
Well, Zen Brown is like, but we already know you'll just rank the island at the bottom. That episode is so fucking boring.
This is top 10. Yeah, Island, of course, is well. There are some really bad episodes in this series.
It's just boring, man. Like they lead you to think that, like, all right, Man at Arms and what's his name, Decker, have this history. And they go back, and I'm like, I want to see something about that. I don't want you to just talk about it and then just, like, sit around and not really do much. I'm like, it was boring. And the crab people suck. The way that the voices are, like, I just want to stab my ear with a screwdriver. I'm like, why? You don't.
And Taylor looking like this weird, like, E.T. looking child. Like, God, it was just a bad. I mean, that second skin. I mean, the Snake Man were so poorly misused in the series. Like, they start off so great, as I've said time and time again, but there's episodes where they have great moments, but overall the episode sucks. Like, I think Rattle the Snake has some good moments in it, but I don't like Fisto and Man at Arms being related and their forced banter, and everyone's being knocked all over the damn place. Everyone's as strong as He-Man, but then you got that cool, like, moment of, like, the Snake King is like, He-Man, I've known King Grayskull. I fought King Grayskull, and you're no King Grayskull. Like, I just thought that was kind of a nice nod, even though it's referencing the shittiest character.
Let's not bring him up, please.
No, I know, but I just like that moment of, like, scoffing at He-Man. Like, I see you. You're no threat to me. Like, I just thought it was a cool, because we didn't get that many moments of He-Man and King Hiss. Seeing them face to face, and I feel like there's too much damn emphasis on this King Grayskull bullshit. So it was important to me that King Hiss and He-Man have their moment, or they should have had several, instead of forcing Zodak into it. And, like, if you want
And
to
it's
attach
so
to
much
it,
better with
it's
Hero.
fine.
We've said it a million times. So much better if Hero would have been the.
Yes. Oh God! Now I'm going to get upset and start crying.
Let's go into all right.
Well,
it would be now.
that will lead into the conversation that we're gonna have now, which is what fans deserve, what we feel like fans deserve in terms of modern Masters of the Universe comics and storytelling, and it kind of goes immediately from that, because I feel like it's a lateral move, and I have a lot of questions, and probably not a lot, but I have questions that I am going to toss to you guys. I'm going to toss to the chat. First of all, being this goes to you guys in the chat room, and anyone watching after the fact, please leave a comment down below, and I want you guys to explain if you did enjoy the crossover with Thundercats and the DC characters or multiverse that came out this year. If you liked them and you enjoyed them, I'm happy you did, first of all. But why? Well, why did you like them? Is it just because it's something new for you to consume, and it like just having the baseline stuff is enough for you? Like it's enough that you can get into it and appreciate it and enjoy it. For those of you that didn't like it, like the three of us sitting here, I have not read the Thundercats crossover. I did not read the one with the DC characters and that crossover, but I have read Multiverse. And I the idea behind it, I've said before, I feel like would have worked if it hadn't come out after the Spider-Verse movie, and if they would have left Tapper's He-Man out of it and cut some of that shit out. But at the same time, you're like, some of this stuff sort of shares the same timeline, so it's not really jumping to another verse of this, so that doesn't make any sense either. But I think the core idea was okay, but everything else that they threw in there is like, why are you doing this? This sucks, whatever. But
the execution was garbage.
Yeah.
It was absolute garbage in that multiverse. I mean, at first, it shouldn't even have revolved around Keldor. I mean, the casual fan will not even know what the fuck a Keldor is. It should have been Skeletor if they're going to do it, and it's supposed to be Anti-Eternia, then it's a good Skeletor from the Antiverse. It should have been something like that, but also when you're starting to do everything where every single property or universe that they're doing, they're mocking, then how is that showing any respect to not only the property and the fans, but I mean, this is what got you where you're at right now. You're writing this because of all the stuff from the past, but you're mocking everything. Then where are any of the great fights? If we're going to see Anti-Eternia He-Man getting these swords, like, I want to see some
Don't
fights.
even see
all
it.
This bullshit.
It's just someone's laying there and it was done. I'm like, well, where's the action?
I get this. Right, and I get the sword, and then let's just ham fist all this dumbass dialogue and crap into it. It's like it's shit, and that's the other thing.
It's like in movies where it's like, oh man, it's like two people talking. It's like, oh, look at that going on over there, but they never leave the two people on screen, so you don't see anything else that's happening, and then it's just like a poorly done movie. Yeah.
Had it every time, and that's the thing. I mean, and what we'd want in this comics is respect to the property and what got you there, all the canon, all the history, all the goodness of Masters of the Universe. But second, don't feel, and I've said this a million times, don't feel like you have to have, when you do a comic series, a constant continuity. Because sometimes, like first the multiverse was garbage, but the other ones even before that they were doing with DC, it was this long, dragged out bullshit story, tons of talking to get to issue, 16, 17. I don't even know how long it lasted. I was like, please end this. Just, I'm tired of reading it. In which I think I got to issue 7 of that series and was done. I was like, I am bored to death. What we want is, okay, let's just bring up Buzz-Off's Pride. Sure, it was kind of like you said, a filler episode, but it's an episode that we could still know there's connection of continuity, but we don't feel like we had to watch everything to get to that episode. But what did that episode give us? It gave us something to where there's an objective. Like I said, there's this beginning. He had to get something. There's an obstacle in his way. Had to fight these 3 fucking giants, go through some personal things himself, then get the thing back, bam, boom, there's the end. But it wasn't like, you know what? Buzz-Off's sitting there. He's having issues. Let's say why and go through 5 episodes of, maybe Buzz-Off, he wasn't the best fighter growing up. He got picked on. And then his parents, picked on him and somebody didn't like him. And why can't I get forgiveness? That kind of shit. We don't need it. You just found out he's bullheaded. He's got a lot of pride. We don't need the fucking backstory of it. I don't need a backstory of everything. Am I saying backstories aren't necessary? No, they are. when certain things can be done right,
when
but
it
not every
applies.
character has to. Yeah, when it applies, it doesn't have to have a pity
Yeah.
party of why this person is like this. That's what they're not getting. They're dragging shit out. We're getting too much backstory of every character, every reasoning, and it doesn't give you any satisfaction because you're bored to death. So if you're to do comics, yeah, have a little 2-3 part story arc, but give us good one-off episodes with this. See, that's the thing. If they were to do, you would never get Buzz Off's Pride in this day and age with these comics, because it would be almost considered, like what we were saying earlier, a filler episode. Like, why put this in here? It's going to interrupt our 16-part arc of talking. That's what's annoying. It's like, just give us some good ass stories, some good battles, and in the mix, have a little 2-3 part saga, but just give us our good beginning, middle, end. Let us have some fun and just don't disrespect the past. Make something fun and leave out any modern vernacular, any references like it's from Earth. Don't have them speaking like they're from Earth. Don't act like they're kids. Leave that nonsense out and let us believe that we're in the world of eternity and fantasy and these amazing features and powers. Well, that's what we want.
I mean, it starts with the basis of, if you're going to do that, put people in charge to write it and draw it that care about it. Like, I feel like, and I know someone's probably going to be like, yeah, but Tim Seeley in the multiverse, he cares about He-Man. Maybe. Okay, but I don't know.
Doesn't mean he should be writing.
Exactly. Yeah, like, put people in it that would.
Because the agenda's not pushing comedy. You guys are telling me that obviously this multiverse thing was more about making fun of the shit and trying to be humorous the majority of the time. Well,
I don't necessarily think that it was like outright to make fun of things. I think it's.
They sure did with Filmation, though. Oh, God.
I think it's just when it came down to it, they were throwing out stuff like. The things that they said were things that I guess that if anybody had watched it, but not hardcore, it's something that they could easily pick up on and be like, oh yeah, I remember like that being kind of corny or something, you know, like.
But I think they're going by what they think fans say. What fans like say, oh, that Filmation was just corny.
That's a very narrow-minded mentality too, and that should not be your purpose for writing a He-Man comic. I don't care what the story you're trying to tell. You're gonna. Let's veer off real quick and make a reference to something that we thought that you think people think is lame. Like, for what purpose? You know, it's this property struggling enough as it is in being a competent comic book because they can't hire anybody. They can't pull their head out of their own ass.
Well,
because everyone wants to come along and try to reinvent the damn wheel.
Well, I'll ask you this then: what made when Val was doing the books in the early 2000s, what made that work? Was it strictly just the passion that they had about it that they put into the book?
Passion, respect, love of the property. They didn't mock it at any time. They didn't feel like they had to mock the past to promote what they were doing right now at that time in the present. They were telling great stories and honoring what we all love. And you can tell it's the passion and love from real fans that were doing it, from them who were writing it to the people that were drawing it. That's what you need. You don't want to think, okay, I want to put my spin on it, but also, hey, this part could be corny. This could be cheesy. It wasn't necessary. Right. They got it. I mean, I'll let Tyler say it, but yeah, it just pissed me off.
Well, they were just telling a straightforward story that had like seeds of like things that if they were given the opportunity would be explained down the road. You know, it wasn't trying to let's reintroduce this and let's give you Mechaneck's origin. Like, no, these characters are here. We're going forward. We're going to be fighting Skeletor. We're going to stop him from this. We got to stop him from that. And that's what you want to see. You don't want to see these. Let's wander over here and make up some shit. Let's wander down over there and give a backstory to this character that really doesn't warrant one. But this guy is like, I want to do it. And like, for what purpose? Because I'm edgy and I'm different. And I'm unique and cool.
How about this? Because I know this will stir the pot. The first of all, too, I want to say hello to Robua Channel. I hope I didn't mess that up. It said, hello guys, greetings from Chile. So thank you for checking us.
Greetings from the U.S. to Chile there.
But Curtis Ackerman, because as you're talking about this, Curtis Ackerman, I can't wait. I'm sure Joe's already seen this. Oh man. I think it's crazy that Tyler's criticizing people that are trying to recreate He-Man, but he loves the 87 movie that did the same thing.
I tell you, Curtis has got the worst like case of slamming the '87 movie, along with so many others. Like it's the most like empty. Like,
hang on,
like,
hang on.
There's no substance to it at all.
But think
like,
about it for a second. Think about it though, and I know that it's more about the budget and what they had to work with, and it being Canon Films. That's already established. But like, let's break it down in that aspect, because you're sort of getting a variation of that when it comes to comics, and probably with like the new show and everything. Maybe it's not a budgetary thing, but it has a similar path of people wanting to try to recreate or to like change something drastically and what needed to be changed.
Well, no, and this is where, and I remember a while back, Curtis was trying to stir up shit, and I'm like, I'm not taking the bait here. Like, I've seen people trying to stir up stuff about the '87. I just ignore it and mock it privately. But things have to be changed up to translate to screen. You know, you can't always do this translate to screen the exact look, color scheme, everything. Think He-Man's hairdo, like all that stuff has to be modified for screen. You know, I thought immediately of like the X-Men when they did the first film in 2000, making the outfits black. I got it because not everybody's outfit, like, you know, would probably look good on screen as much as it's cool to see people cosplay like that or someone put together a real fancy outfit. Some things do have to be changed up. So, in knowing that, I was behind William Stout making these deliberate changes to He-Man's outfit, the hairstyle. He even suggested He-Man wearing tall boots because wearing these small little boots might make him look a little feminine running around, and Dolph didn't want to look feminine. Like, you make these tweaks and changes so that way the presence on the screen looks more menacing.
I could see that because
if Frank Langella is wearing purple and blue, he may not look as menacing as Skeletor because it's just the things have to be tweaked a little bit, and that's why I'm like, yeah,
I could see there being,
as long as the backbone of the visual is still there.
I could see there being
shit.
Oh, there! Everyone, take a shot.
I hope I'm here.
Yeah, you're here.
Oh, thank God! First time I fell and didn't lose it. There. That was weird. I did nothing. It just fell. I don't know. It felt Tyler's.
Everybody,
it was like, oh.
Cheers! Everybody, take a shot real quick. I could see that too because there would be a difference, and I know some people would be like, "Yeah, but X, Y, and Z." I'm like, but you got to think this was Canon Films. Like, this isn't Paramount. This isn't.
Yeah, and there's another thing too. Like, it's aside from the budget and Canon's reputation, and everything, they are telling a straightforward He-Man story. They're not trying to recreate the origins of He-Man and Skeletor and Castle Grayskull. Like, they gave us the most straightforward story with the core cast and threw in a few new villains for good measure. Like, I'm sorry, but isn't that kind of what we get in most versions of Golden Books, Filmation, the comic books? We get He-Man, Skeletor, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, Teela, Beastman, Evil N. That is your core cast. We have Castle Grayskull. I don't want to hear any more bullshit about Battle Cat and Orko. You know, Snake Mountain is referenced and seen in the movie from the man who said it himself. That is Snake Mountain in the film. It's just not name checked. If you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, you're not a true fan of this podcast, go back and watch the William Sutton interview, part 1. You know, we got the quintessential He-Man film. I'm sorry that if Battle Cat and Orko were not in it, just, you know, grabbed you by the nuts and wouldn't let go, and that Prince Adam's not in there. We don't see the King and Queen because we just have all these other reasons why we can't do all this stuff.
But from that perspective, like, there has to be some part of you that does sort of understand their disappointment with it, because some of the fans were older at the time.
Well, I understand. I sympathize more with Joe, that when you're thinking a live action movie's coming out and you're thinking you're going to get the cartoon. But I was coming along. I saw it when I was 3, or I guess probably would have been early, or like maybe late, or it would have been like late '87, early '88 when I saw the film on VHS. I didn't see any difference, like, even though I was very, very little at the time. But I saw He-Man and Skeletor. I didn't see that. Well, Skeletor's not blue skin, and his skull's not yellow, and he's not cackling.
It's a good point.
I didn't stop and think about it, but I get why Val and Joe and others have said initially they didn't like it at first. I understand that. But when people to this day are knocking it for reasons that make no sense, of saying, "Oh, they look so different," like you don't get it. Like not everything. Orko, if he was in the film, would probably look a lot more different.
He would, dude. He would look like shit.
Well, could have been a puppet.
Even if he was nothing more than a stop motion animated special effect, his color scheme would not be the toy or the Filmation cartoon. I guarantee.
And it's a canon film, guys. It's a canon film.
Yeah,
like it wasn't. It would not have looked that good.
No, and if it had come from Universal, because Universal was trying to get the film, but Canon came in with a cheaper deal. It's hard to say, but this is an expensive property. Especially even for the 80s. I don't care if it was 20th Century Fox or Warner Brothers. That was even if Warner Bros. Distributed the film, but they didn't make it. But I think when they get down to it, they don't realize like this is a special effect extravaganza. We're talking legitimate Star Wars special effects here. If you're going to do half of what's in the mythology that kids are seeing in the cartoon and the toy, let alone talking tigers and stuff, just the transformation sequence alone, all that stuff. But getting back to the comic books,
that's what makes it easier, because with the comics you can make all that stuff happen because you just got to draw it.
For me, this thing, I feel like so many characters in comics are so oversaturated with so many damn titles. And one of my biggest gripes about He-Man is that there's so many great characters that do not get used because the people who are writing the book don't do their research, and their history only stops at like maybe 84 if they're lucky, and all they know is Fisto, Mechaneck, and Buzz-Off, and they don't know anybody past that. My idea is if Mattel is not grabbing you by the nuts and telling you can't do this, you can't do that, like they did with the Emiliano and Val, and DC's not getting their fingers in there, like, just take your fingers out of the pie and put them back up your ass. Let us do what we need to do here. You had a main flagship He-Man book. That is your core story. Do your one-offs, and if you're going to do a trilogy story, it stays in that book. Then you have a She-Ra book, where you get your horror fix, and you get your Great Rebellion, all the stories happening on theater, and then you have your third book, which is a team-up book, much in vain like the Marvel team-up books of the 70s and early 80s, where the book is strictly like He-Man teams up with Natasha, or it's Buzz-Off and Mechaneck, or it's Clamp Champ and Frosta, or Orko and Cyclone. Like the book is just strictly focusing on two heroes getting to shine in this one story against, could be the Horde, could be the Snake Man, could be Negator, could be Azrog, it could be, it could be Zuba Rex. I don't care, but
Zuba Rex, hell yeah!
Focusing on characters that, even if Fisto is a prominent character, like putting Fisto and tag him up with, Rock On, keep it random like that, and give Rock On and Stondar the media.
Those good one-off stories, like I said, it'd be awesome, because just picture like the Clash of Arms, which we praise to death as being the greatest mini comic. Had barely anything to do with He-Man except him coming at the end, but had Fisto and the other characters. That's a story that, unfortunately, you will never get these days if they keep writing these goddamn continuity stories to bore the shit out of us. Give us these good ones.
No one's going to buy He-Man unless you're doing some bullshit crossover. Then it just sounds like, you guys clearly, if you don't want to put your best efforts forward, which I'm sure in their blind eye, they think they are, because they did the... What was the name of the one where it was like when they did the whole New 52 thing, but that one where He-Man teams up with the Snake Man and all that bullshit, Joe?
If that's the one where it was the God, now I almost forgot. Is that the
it's irrelevant, but just like that was like their only few attempts of just doing a He-Man book that's not like, let's team up with Superman and make fun of it. Let's team up with Thundercats and shit all over that. Let's do a crossover multiverse thing where it's just like, why are they so scared to just do a straightforward He-Man comic? But they tried that coming out of the gate, and it sucked. Big bags of shit. It was terrible. And just,
And those sales went real bad, and I know they can, and they do. They always love saying the excuse of, yes, all comic sales go down, but I mean, for Masters of the Universe, it was just dramatically going worse and worse and worse until that final issue.
And they're not going to come out and say anything negative about any of their properties, whether they take it seriously or not, because they need to maintain their dignity.
And when you think that, Tyler, wouldn't you think by the end, if you were reading this gigantic 16, 17 part, like I said, I can't remember how many issues it was, but if you had this gigantic story arc, you would think people are waiting for the payoff at the end, so the last issue should sell like gangbusters. And it sells just worse and worse in every issue.
It was not a compelling story to begin with. Like,
no, because you would be involved. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Deuce can back me up on this too. You go back and read any Marvel and DC comics back in the 70s and the 80s, most of the time those stories are wrapped up in 2 issues. If that. Like, you think about the death of Gwen Stacy, it's pretty much 2 issues. It happens in 1 issue, and then the conclusion or the aftermath of the death of the Green Goblin is in the next issue after that. One of the most epic Spider-Man stories ever been told to this day. 2 damn issues is all it took to tell the most compelling Spider-Man stories ever been told. And yet everyone thinks we got to have 12 months worth of the flagship book and the spinoff books all interconnecting here in one big jumbled mess.
But
when we know it's strictly for money and cash grab. But it's like, don't try and...
I was going to say, like, at the end of the day, it's all about money. And I think I would tweak your idea about the team-up book, and I would just call it, like... just because I've been watching a lot of it lately. But what if you called the spinoff book, like, Tales from Eternia, and like just have something at the beginning where it's like Orko just like starting to read off a story, and then it goes into like a one-off with like a Fisto story, and here's like another one, and sometimes there are team-ups, but sometimes it just focuses on one sole character or something like that. That way those guys get highlighted.
Could do
way
that,
more.
But I kind of feel like with the 2 other books, like the She-Ra book and the He-Man book, they're still getting used. Like you're still, but they're just not going to be used like every issue. Whereas like I just felt like a team-up book, because my initial thought was doing a Buzz Off Mechanics book, because I just always loved that tag team and just having them go off and do their own adventures. But I thought, like,
do you think it's too much though? Because if you have a He-Man book and a She-Ra book and then another book, wouldn't that? What if, could you not just during the He-Man run, like in between, like how you think of when you watch animated shows, I don't want to say call them filler, but throw that in there to where it's like, here's like this team up issue, and it has nothing to do with the whole story going on, it's just something different along the way. But
I mean, you could, but it's like with Filmation for the most. I mean, He-Man's in every episode. Right. She-Ra's in every episode of She-Ra. I kind of feel like if you're like when you read Superman, you expect to see Superman. When you read Spider-Man, you expect to see Spider-Man. That's kind of my take with that, and that's why only the 3rd book would give the audience an opportunity to see more of Moss Man. Like even if it is just one character, but and you can have He-Man in there from time to time if you want to. But the goal is you can't fit everybody into your He-Man book and your She-Ra book. There are people that are going to get cut. Otherwise, it just becomes a big jumbled mess of people that aren't being used. That's the purpose of the 3rd book. Is just we harp on these characters. It's just Man at Arms and Teela over and over and over again.
Well, what about this?
Why can't we see the Rock Warriors and the Meteors being used? Like, that's the purpose of that 3rd book, is to have Clamp Champ and Comatroid team up, and they go or something to the city of Drizdos, and there's a Clawful's there stirring up shit, and they get into this big fight, and it's just something. Like you call it Tales of Eternity, something like that, but it is the purpose to show the vastness of Eternia, that we'll see other villains that really you don't have time to work into the main flagship book, that you could work in a Negator, that you could work in Inspector Darkney or something like that, where you Dialamog, characters that just aren't utilized that much. That everybody who listens to this podcast, you may have a particular favorite hero and villain that doesn't get used much. Jitsu, prime example. Make Jitsu the sole villain of the spinoff book, because in the flagship book you kind of expect Skeletor, Hordak, or the Snake Man to be the villain of the issue or issues or something like that. This book gives you free reign to just play around in the sandbox and go on adventures to the Dark Hemisphere. To go to Dark Smoke, and Icer is the sole villain of this episode. Is he freezing dragons or something like that? Get Granomir involved, and He-Man doesn't necessarily have to be there. It's just the events going on in Dark Smoke, and Man-at-Arms and Clamsham go to investigate or something like that. It's just too damn big to keep it limited. That's why I feel like they overdo it with having so many books so that we can get away with all this like continuity stuff. That's why 3 books should be more than enough. You want to give time and plenty to She-Ra. That we could have, Bo team up with Rio Blast. Have them cross over in the worlds and stuff. I just feel like there's you don't want too much, but I think 3 is more than enough. Okay. From my personal perspective, at least.
Well, I'll ask you guys another general comic book question, because TV shows, and Tyler, you and I talked about this the other day, have evolved to a point to where it's almost like you can't call them TV shows to a certain degree, because a lot of people have cut the cord in terms of cable, so a lot of what we consume is on streaming services, and when those shows come out, it's just, here's the series. It's a season, but here's the series. Do you think that comic books could benefit from going from that model of once-a-month issues to, if they have a story that big, that they wait and just sell it as one trade paperback? I know that it's all about...
No, because they want to maximize sales with varying covers and stuff like that.
I know it's all about money, but there's part of me that just feels like ultimately, as we go further, because the comic industry is kind of hurting pretty good right now.
Well, I mean, it was hurting before the pandemic started too. But I don't know. I kind of feel like then you'd be asking people to pay a lot, because then they got to make up. If they're not going to sell individual issues, well, they're going to have to ask for a larger price for a compendium, or like a large trade paperback or a hardcover, for one big story. Even though they do that, once the miniseries is over, they're going to reissue the whole set, or all 12 issues in a set, and want you to pay a premium price for that because it's hardcover. Or even when it's softcover, you're still expected to pay around $18-20. For 4 or 5 issues in one set, and then buy another one. It's just. But
don't you think the mentality? Because I have that mentality of like when books come out, and if I'm intrigued by it, I'm like, well, I'll just wait when the trade paperback.
But that's the whole excitement when you get into reading comic books. And Joe, back when the He-Man book was coming out regularly, like you look forward to it each month. It's just like when you wait for a new episode of a good show. You couldn't wait for it to come out. Like, it is part of the excitement and the anticipation of it. Yeah, I want to read it now, especially when they kept filling comic books up with so many damn ads anymore, where it's like most of the book is nothing but advertisements with 4 or 5 pages of artwork. You read books back in the 70s, 80s, and 60s. Most of it's all story. And now it's just like, well, let's cut out less story here, more advertisement, and stretch it out over 5 or 6 issues, which means you got 6 months trying to tell a story that could have been told in 1 issue. And I do not claim to know much about the ins and outs of how the comic industry works. Right. But just knowing how current books are and stuff like that, I just could not see them ever doing that. As nice as it would be for us as the fans to not have to wait a whole year to see the story completed, they would never go to.
And that's the difference. That was the genuine excitement of like when I would go get the He-Man comics, was knowing every month I was going to get a brand new story. It was exciting. See, that's the thing. It wasn't always a constant story arc, but it was fun. Like you said, they would have different characters. I mean, He-Man sometimes, yes. I mean, He-Man's on the cover of all of them, except I think the one with Hordak's face right there with everything surrounded. But basically, He-Man, Prince Adam are on the cover of each one. But, you are having the other characters doing stuff. But that's the thing. If they were to just do a one big, like you said, trade paperback and have it all together, it's okay, sure. You don't have to wait for the 16-month payoff. It's right there in just one solid issue. But like you said, they're going to want to do it every month because they're getting money from that. Then when it's done selling 3 months later, now get the trade paperback. That's more money for them. So they'll never probably just say, here's the payoff.
I think
here's 12 issues.
I think I was just looking at it from the perspective of just how we are as a society and how we consume things now, as opposed to how we did 20 years ago.
As opposed to like going out and, which I like reading books. I never thought I would like it, but it definitely helps save space. And a lot of us can't afford to go and get a lot of these high dollar issues that as kids you only heard stories about. Like nowhere I could afford to get the first appearance of Juggernaut and actually read it. Like, unless you got an expensive trade paperback.
Hey, I got that book.
Which, You know, oh no, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
Do you really?
You do not have the first appearance of Juggernaut.
Yeah, I do.
No, you
Go
don't.
get it.
Yeah, I do.
You really
It's
got
not here. It's at
Can you
my
get it?
parents' house. But yeah, my dad bought it.
If you really show that, Tyler's like, what the fuck? Show that next week. You
All
have
right,
got to show
I'll,
this next
I'll,
week. You gotta see-
I do need to go to my parents to get all my comic books and bring them over here to the house. Because I remember when Tyler was flipping through and I had the first issue of the Masters of the Universe comic. He's like, "Oh my God, you have this?"
Wait, hold on. Tyler genuinely almost looks like pissed. Like, are you fucking shitting?
I
Because he knows
haven't.
all the
I
crap
looked
you
through his
have.
books. I had to tell him what he had.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, I don't recall ever seeing the first
No,
appearance of
no,
Juggernaut.
this was after that. This was like,
I know your dad bought the first appearance of Rhino, and he bought the first appearance
I have Juggernaut. I have Juggernaut as well. This came after you went through my comic collection, but yes,
I'm trying to remember when you would have told me that, though, because now it's starting to sound a little familiar, because I had completely wiped that from my memory that you had that.
This was probably about 10, 12 years ago.
Is this your dad getting it at the flea market? Shit.
Tyler might hate you even more with all the toys you've had and all the boxes and everything in the world. It's like, now you got this.
No, well, see.
God, I told him, like, hey, you know what that is over there? The first Prince of Wolverine. I'm like, really? Sold. Shit.
Oh, yeah. That's when we went to the beach. We went in that comic shop, and you're like, look at that. Because beside of that was Spider-Man.
Amazing Fantasy 15,
But
man.
the cover was half ripped off, and the Wolverine book was in, like, the good shape. It's graded. I want to say it was like...
8.5
No, it was lower than that. But the dude wanted 325. I'm like, you got it, and I just bought it. And Tyler's like, are you kidding me? You kidding me?
To be that lucky, huh? Wow. Well, how about we get to some of these suckers?
I had no idea what the hell it was, and he bought it right there in front of me. I was like, just do it to piss me off.
Just to spite you. Just say, look what I have now. Something else that you don't have.
What's this in my pocket? $375. Oh, man. I'm
just like, hey, you gonna buy it? First Prince Wolverine. What are you gonna know? I happen to have that right there in my pocket. Tyler, you want to help me count it?
The whole time he was like, I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you're doing this. I was like, I'm doing it, man.
It was just unheard of because I just never thought I could afford any of the high dollar, big pinnacle and key issues of comic books. And
well, you're not rolling like Nathan. You're not rolling like him.
And a lot of it too was by some of the stuff's by chance, like with Venom, when that happened. Like this is when Dad and I were like at the height of collecting comics, and those issues came out, and he was like, "Yep, gotta get that, gotta get that, gotta get that." Like the Todd McFarlane Spider-Man with the variant covers. I'm pretty sure we have all of that. Look at Tyler.
I have so many
Tyler's
random weird
getting pissed.
things, but I don't think I have anything as old as as rare as you. I remember it was maybe 7 years ago. I looked and I was like, I didn't realize I had issue number 1 of the thing. So I looked online. I was like, this ain't worth shit, because I thought, man, I got issue 1 of the thing. Like nobody wants this fucking thing, but I got it.
There's so many old books, and that's why when you go to flea markets and stuff, they all. I mean, and you know who's legit, and who's not, but they all think because they're old that it's the first issue of this. Well, it's worth. $500.
Yeah.
Better slap it on there.
No, the comics that my dad was getting at flea markets were from guys that were like, I know what's in there, I have it priced, but he's like, half off all this. And Dad was like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So he would drop like $150 and get all these books that were like worth well more than that. And I would show Tyler, be like, dude, look what he got. And Tyler's like, oh my God.
And I struggle to make ends meet, and I do have some key issues on display here that I got over the summer during this whole pandemic. But it was just like, do I dare pull the trigger on the first appearance? Do I do it? Do I do it? And Nathan just dropped him a pallet of cash and just let me know when it arrives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking like a month in advance. Can I make it that far for bite right now? And
I've been very fortunate in terms of I don't know, I went through a spell too where I just wasn't spending money on anything other than bills, so I was just like saving and then like getting better jobs and
What was
making
that?
more money. So
Was that about 2 weeks? Was that about 2 weeks where you couldn't buy something?
no, there was a time
Are
period.
you kidding? He buys shit now, and he's still getting more. As like he's getting paid to buy stuff now.
No, but there was a point like 5 years ago where like I was not like mentally in a good place, and I was just like, I don't care about anything, whatever. And I just wasn't buying anything. I'm like, all right, I need to get groceries, I need to car payment, internet bill, electric bill. Like I was just coasting through that, and then like I don't know, stuff just started clicking. I think it's when like Tyler and I started like we mended our friendship and started like hanging out and everything again, that it just like lit that spark in me all over again, where I was just like, oh yeah, like I like this shit. I remember that now. Life is great again. I don't know. Life is weird that way, but with the comics, we're pretty much like all across the board settled on you got to have somebody doing it that cares about it. You want to have stories that can be one-off stories that can be wrapped up in 2 issues. You want to have it to where characters that didn't get much of a light shown. What would be
Shined on.
Shine? No, that doesn't sound right. You got to give characters the spotlight.
I won 3rd place in a Walmart spelling bee when I was in 7th grade. Don't
Wait,
you tell me
whoa.
about grammar and words.
Really? Because I finished. I was like top 10 in like 5th grade spelling bee.
Yeah, but this was like last minute when I was on vacation in Tennessee. Like I didn't study for this. I just went and did it.
I spell good.
Yeah, sure.
I thought Joe said he smelled good.
Sure you do, Joe. But
What's up, Mr. Santos?
there we go. Grim 2, showcase. You need to showcase those characters that weren't necessarily utilized, and sort of. We're not saying go through and give them like this backstory, because most characters don't need that, but give them something to do and make it memorable and make it fun. Have a lot of action in there. Humor can be used sparingly, as we've always said. You don't want to beat someone. Isn't that funny? Don't beat them over the head with it, but like just make it an enjoyable, fun fantasy ride. Exactly.
But yeah, I feel like we mentioned so much. This whole back behind Joe are all characters that hell have never seen the light of day outside of a toy. If they got that, and that is it. And I know there are some fans, if you kind of poke them a little bit, they will get curious. Like, why don't we get to see more of Snakeface? Why can't Snakeface be the villain of something? Why do we feel like it's like the whole group of the same? Why can't it just be, Whiplash is the main villain? Or why can't it be Batros again? Like, why limit him to one episode? Why not give him his own, where he's the villain of this one particular comic or something like that? It's just so much stuff you could do. Hell, you could do even stories with Tuvar and Badger as the bad guys in that one book where you see them as bounty hunters in that one-off story, like way before they become too bad. Like hell, I would love to see that. Give me the damn pen, people. I'll do it for free.
Just make us look forward to wanting to read these comics. That's the main thing. I want to be excited again. Like I said, I have not been excited to read a comic since Val and Emiliano were doing their comics. Nothing has got me excited. And these mini comics, so far, the first issue with Origins is sad. It's pitiful. The ones that were classics, they weren't worth remembering. They definitely didn't honor Hero. Hero Unleashed. He's killed. Didn't do shit. But I'm not going to get to that because it'll piss me off. But yeah, just honor this stuff. And we might as well get to these fucking people in the chat room.
Wow, Joe. Get to these fucking people.
Hey, fuckers, if you got any questions for us, shoot them down right now. Well, Nathan will say something. How about that? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to stress again, like we always do, if you guys found enjoyment in all those other books, we're happy that you did. We're glad that you enjoyed them. But also let us know in the comments why you like them. And not just like, I liked it. Like, be specific about it. What did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy if you didn't like them at all either? Like, let us know what you guys think and what you would do, what you would want to see in a modern comic. Is it the same things that we sort of tossed out on the show? Is it something completely different? Just let us know. Leave a comment down below.
Or you want to be like Curtis Ackerman and say, well, I just thought it was stupid.
Well, hang on. Hang on. I wanted to tell you too. As Joe pulls his hood over his face. No, he said that. Hang on.
Like he respects or understood where Tyler was coming from. Is that the part you're going to say that Curtis said?
Yeah, I was just trying.
Curtis
Ackerman says, "See these ideas from Tyler. Imagine if Stout had that knowledge, respect, and excitement for the property."
All right.
I think he did respect the property. That's why I feel like I don't. Like, yeah, he did concepts that grew over time. Like, they're just concepts. Like, Mattel, had to have the final say over a lot of that stuff as well. Like, they had to be okay with the design that He-Man and Skeletor both had. Like, they had to be okay with all that stuff. It wasn't just Stout, I'm in charge here. He was given the duty of come up with the costume designs and the set designs and all that stuff, too. So that's why I think he did it justice. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. And I'm not going to hold, anything against you for that. But to say Stout didn't really care about what he was doing with the film, he was just doing it for a paycheck, no, I find it to be complete nonsense. Like, no, I see nothing but passion with given the limited budget and that he was given the duties of production designer as they're in production. He just gets the responsibility gets dropped on him.
Yeah, the main thing that anyone should take away from this, it's Canon Films. I've said it like 5 times already. Like, at the time that they put this into production, that company was such that it was like in shambles when this was all going down. This was like the last ditch effort to keep Canon alive.
And it still looks amazing.
Yeah.
Like, yes, if you want to be an asshole, you can pick it apart all you want, but the costumes look great. The story works. Yes, we all want to see a story that's set on Eternia. Like, no one's pretending that it needs to be on Earth. We get it. It's strictly for budgetary reasons, and that is it. When you understand the backstory of things like that, it's forgivable. When you learn that Michael Bay is like, wow, fuck all that stuff. I'm going to reinvent the whole mythology and put flames on Optimus Prime. Like, that I got a problem with.
Yeah, and the Bay Turtles with like, the April O'Neil was basically babysitting them. I don't know why. Don't do that.
Yeah, see, that's someone who clearly doesn't give a shit about mythology and wants to come and do his own thing.
But
Gary Goddard and crew.
But think about it.
Were
like, here's the companies that are just like backing up with a dump truck full of money. It's like, man, make something. He's like, okay. Like, it falls on them just as much as it does the filmmakers, because like if they wanted to, they could have put their foot down on it. Well, was it Eastman or Laird that was just like, these Bay Turtles, this is great, but he's getting a cut from it. Like, he's getting a big fat ass paycheck from this, so why should he give a shit either? Like, at the end of the day, everything's about money. It's about money. Like, anything. You could see content creators on Twitch or YouTube, and what happens? Once they gain in popularity, they get advertisers that sniff around, and they're like, hey, can you advertise this? And what happens? Their videos start to have advertisements in them. And people get mad, and it's like, you sold out or whatever. It's like, this dude was making this stuff for free beforehand. If he can do this now and get paid for it, why not? So
it'd be great if we got paid for this. If we got advertisers for like toy stores online that were like, hey, can you sponsor Big Bad Toy Store? Can you sponsor Metropolis and all these other, like, hell, you damn right I would do it.
But
I
wouldn't have any problem with it either. But you also have the fan base aspect that it's like, hey, you sold out and blah blah blah, and it's like, well, I mean, people got to get paid. At some, like, especially those that like take it to that next level. Now, if it's like Tyler and I quit our jobs, then and they were like, we'll pay you for this. Like, if we were ever to get paid well enough doing this that Tyler and I could just quit what we were doing for a living, then hell yeah, we're going to do that, and we'll shill the shit out of anything that you want us to. But it is the way it is. That's how the world works.
Send me spam and Popeye's chicken. I'll do anything. We'll get to the first question, but when I get to this first question, before I do it, I just want to say, guys, if you didn't know, it's time for the Q&A part of the show. So if you have any questions for us, from the mini comics to cartoons to anything else, pop it up. But we'll get to Adam Gabbert first. Mine's going to be super quick because I have no knowledge of the. You'll see what I mean. Tyler, Nathan, Joe, from a scale 0 to 10 for horrible, for 0 to 10 for great. What do you give for the Super 7 Masters of the Universe figures? Club Filmation, Grayskull, Masters of the Universe Origin figures, Ultimate figures. Well, remember, Super 7 didn't do Origins. But as for all of Super 7's figures, I wasn't part of buying them. I wasn't able to get them. So I can't give a rating. For Origins, I give a 5 because the initial thought, great, cool, but the execution on a lot of them is just not good and where it should be. Hopefully it gets better. So I give a 5 for Origins, nothing else on the others. Nathan, Tyler, I don't know if you want to.
The Super 7 is kind of coming off the heels of what Mattel had with Classics. I think for the most part they did a good job of continuing the line as best they could till I guess this is now the end of that, maybe. I don't know. So a scale for those, I love the Classics line. If you can't, let's see. I mean, you guys have probably seen pictures of this. There's my... Let me move my head out of the way. Move that over. There's my Classics collection. I've obtained the vast majority of this since I started doing the show with these guys regularly. So I love the line. So I'll go ahead and give their job on that. Probably an 8 out of 10 just because the other issues, some of it out of their control, some of it QA issues, whatever. They're a smaller company that's gradually expanding. Same thing with Club Filmation. I know a lot of those guys like having more of the Filmation stuff. I've seen the displays people have had. It looks great. Origins figures, I'm with Joe on that. I'd put a 5. I bought them. They're in the closet. I'm probably not going to do anything with them. Articulation's great, but what else did we lose from that? Like head sculpts are weird. Paint apps are missing on certain parts, like with the Zodak. If you see under here it's red, and I'm like, where'd that come from? It's not like that on the original figure. So we've talked about that a lot, and those are my ratings. I'm sure Tyler's pretty much about the same, other than Origins being probably a 0.
Yeah, they're poor man's Classics. That's all Origins is. It's just the exact same figures back behind me here. $15, just smaller, and they can't seem to get the damn heads right. And shitty mini comics, just as shitty as the ones that Scott Knightley put out. But everything Super 7 did, figure wise, was 10 out of 10. I hate their business plan. Where you got to pay $200 in advance, before you get anything. You can't do it in installments or anything like that. It's just it's too much to expect people to fork over $200 and then another $200 when they got something else going out. I know that's how they function. That's my only beef with them is their business plan. It asks too much of the wallet. I can't stand it. That's why I have to go to Big Bad Toy Store and do pre-orders that don't ask you to pay anything, and just hope to God I've got the $200 when it's time for them to pull out of my wallet. So there's my take on that.
All right. Zen Brown wanted to say, because you guys were talking about spelling, he just did want to say that he got second place in his 5th grade spelling bee only because the kid before him spelled the word correctly. He said it should have gone to sudden death. Overtime, to be fair. Well, Zen Brown, you are the first loser. But either way, congratulations on not winning.
I want to hear more about this. I want to hear more about this spelling bee that Tyler was in 5th grade. Or 7th grade, sorry.
It was just at a Walmart in Tennessee when I went to Tennessee with Matt Hilton and his family.
This was just random?
They advertised this.
You just...
What's that?
This was random? You just went in there and it's there's a spelling bee. I'm going to enter.
Yeah, we saw an ad for this spelling bee that was going to be the next day, and we were both let's do it. And we did. And Matt definitely was more intelligent than I was. I'm like, man, I beat him. And it came down to 3. The top prize was a Game Boy. So I got 3rd place and got a baseball glove. I misspelled the word cellar.
Like basement cellar
or wine cellar?
Yeah.
Oh, did you just spell it?
You spell it like S-E-L? You spell it probably selling something? Is that how you spelled it? Probably?
I spelled it C-E-L-L-E-R instead of A-R.
Instead of A-R.
Right. You dumb bastard.
I'm surprised I didn't know Nathan back then, because Nathan would have traveled all the way there just to go, this motherfucker can't spell cellar. Did
I mention the things that I won when I
to drink my tears?
I randomly walked in a couple places and won stuff before. It wasn't about spelling.
Is this about the fucking Spider-Man jacket again? Jesus.
No, this was about Crazy Taxi walking. It's like, goddamn, Media Play was holding a tournament for Crazy Taxi on the Sega Dreamcast. You walk in, you play it, and after 3 days, whoever was the one that got the most money from all the fairs would win a copy of Crazy Taxi. And I was doing the skips and jumps and getting all these extra bonus things from making the customers real excited, and I had the most, and I won that. And I walked into a Funko Land at the time to play NASCAR. I think it was 97. I hate NASCAR, but I walked in, was looking for new stuff. The guy behind the counter said, because he knows me, he was like, Joe, you want to try that? Whoever gets the fastest lap by the end of the day will win win NASCAR
So
'97.
no,
It was like
you only won
I just-
because no one else would play because he said by the end of the day, and you just sat there and just played. And it's like
No,
someone else was showing, get out of
Well,
here.
I gave it to him so he would go home.
No, it was around 2 o'clock when I walked in. I played, and all I did was go in a stupid fucking circle. I mean, I hate NASCAR, so I just went in a circle, and I had the fastest time. He said, "We'll call you 8 o'clock to let you know if you're the winner." Called at 8 o'clock, and they did have a bunch of people around there. I won. I came in the next day, got it, and sold it to a neighbor across the street that loved NASCAR. So we got it 5 days in advance. So there's my nerdy story. Yeah, let's see. Curtis Ackerman. No, not Curtis Ackerman. Grimbot said, "Sorry, William Stout didn't do the movie justice." You just want to say it to you, Tyler.
I meant to call him out for it too because I know Deuce was posting all this
That's a whole nother podcast.
I'm sorry, Deuce. You created He-Man. You know better than all of us. And on the 7th day, Deuce created He-Man.
There you go. Now you know. Baba Hud 69 said, "Where did Orko get his start? The comics, Filmation, or the toys?" It was Filmation. And then we got an interesting toy. I was never a fan of that damn toy. I mean, even though he did a stupid magic trick, I hated the look of Orko. I couldn't stand that damn Orko toy. He was too big and bulky for me. But that's just my thing. I might have missed a lot, Nathan. I'm trying to catch.
That's all. We don't have any questions.
There has to be others, but because somebody, where was this? Grimbot said that somebody referred to Skeletor's Sky Sled as being referred to as an evil jet. I don't remember that ever being said, I don't think, but
well, I'm sure some dipshit somewhere said that.
Yeah, maybe. Well, Papa Hoods, you can see it. I'm not going to pull it up because I really am not whoring myself that close. He said, "Could you show off the new customs?" But they're there. I ain't going to do that.
Do it on your own time. We're trying to answer questions.
Grim 2 says, "Well, not to brag, but I did indeed create He-Man."
Well, we know that you did, and you like to remind us every time. And anytime, I'm surprised when James is not posting something about figures like, James, I created that, and when you post pictures of your He-Man figures, you owe me $1.
But between like anything I post on Facebook that Grim will correct me on, and Eric Amon, like if I have any sort of grammatical slip up that he corrects me on, I live in fear of posting anything on Facebook these days. Curtis Ackerman says, what were your guys' thoughts on the Icons of Evil comics?
I liked them. I liked them. I enjoyed them.
The others suck balls.
I was just gonna say Trapjaw was the one that I enjoyed the most, especially it was grotesque in points, but I still enjoyed them. I enjoyed them all. It was different. It was almost like what you were saying. We had our one comics and then kind of some different little one-offs. It was interesting. I mean, yeah, maybe something could have been told a little different, but I still liked what I got.
I mean, Merman's was the weakest by far because it didn't really. I remember it was so forgettable. Like it really didn't give you much of anything. And Triclops, I didn't like seeing Triclops as a good guy and just become blind and then allies himself with Skeletor. I didn't like that at all.
That gave off the vibe of like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man and trying to make all the villains sympathetic,
God,
yes. It was like that. But I do remember specifically, I want to say it was Books A Million when the Trapjaw one was out, and you took me over to it, and you like open it up, you're like, check this out, and I was like, oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. That was universal love by everybody. Like I would buy that as canon even today. Like, not Trapjaw coming from, another dimension. Like, is this kind of generic villain that mouths off to Skeletor and starts a rebellion, and Skeletor breaks his damn jaw.
Yeah.
And then Triclops. Well, not Triclops, because Triclops is not a scientist. Damn it. Or a weapons expert. He's a swordsman. He's a bounty hunter. Damn it.
I love the bounty hunter more than anything.
Yes,
Gavin, and Gavin the Nerd had a question for you.
That Trapjaw book was wonderful. God, it was so good. The art was
we haven't covered that yet, have we?
And it was all told in one issue. How about that?
That's what I mean. And we haven't covered that yet. Maybe we could do that. We could do a read through on that. Maybe even next week. Hell, might as well start covering.
Let's do it next week.
Comics.
Do that next week.
Yeah, sounds like a plan. All right, and Gavin the Nerd has a question for you, Tyler. This is probably where we'll end it. He said, Tyler, what serious drama movie would you put Joe in? Brian's Song, Rocky, Steel Magnolia, etc. What would you choose?
So, I feel like I could put Joe in anything, but it would be strictly to mock him for the stuff that he does. Like, and I've thought about it a few times just because I like to amuse myself. I've loved putting Nathan and stuff because of how angry he gets about things, but I just feel like you could do it like, I just picture like instead of Jason, like he's wearing the Joe Amato mask, like in the Jason Takes Manhattan teaser trailer. It's just like some guy sitting there with their plaid, and then turns around and it's just the Modulite mask, and everyone's like screaming like New York has a new problem because this guy's gonna eat your damn food, and and instead of like being at the bottom of a lake, Joe's in the bottom of a dumpster, and someone dumps a bag of garbage on it, and then he kind of wakes up, oh man, bear claws, holy shit, man.
That's me.
See,
and he's just going out after everybody, and ignoring naked babes. He's just after their Twinkies. It was just funny. It just like putting Joe and he's drowning in a cup full of eggs.
Oh,
I think you like this flashback of Joe with his mask on. Help! Help! And everyone's ignoring because they're all making love instead of feeding this poor boy food. And...
See, I would. Gavin the Nerd mentioned Still Magnolias. I'd put him in that because I remember the scene where it's like Julia Roberts, they're like cutting her hair, and she starts like having a seizure, and they have to give her orange juice and shit. I can see them recreating that scene with Joe because they're trying to cut his hair because it's all just like sticking out and going all over the place. And he hasn't had like a can of Spam or something in a while, so he just starts like going there. It's like, yeah, get the Spam, and they're trying to like rip it open, but it won't, and then they get it, and all the fucking juice that's inside, that nasty ass juice inside the can, just like goes all over him, and then he takes it with his bare hands and just starts eating it. He's like,
don't waste it. This could become a great segment where we could insert Joe into the most obscene movie that you could think of, like, and put him in it, and but the mask is always there, like obviously, because the Man Without a Face with Mel Gibson, and it's just like Joe's like, you see my face here, and it's just like the Modulite mask, and he's like, oh god, like it's Joe Amato is the man with
It's sad. I get excited about food. I mean, when it comes Christmas time and everybody's getting big gifts, and I always tell everybody, give me food. And I remember one time going with my relatives, and, when you're having everybody gathered, and I'm not into, like, usually goofy casseroles and shit, but they had this cheesy potato thing that tasted delicious. And I think I just got, listen, I got one serving, and all the other people, all the other fucking family members ate it up. So I remember telling my cousin,
this is how Tyler's movie, like the Jason Takes Man, this is how this starts.
Starts at the family reunion. Yeah. But it was around Christmas. I told her, I said, next year for Christmas, could you just make a whole pan of that just for me? That's the gift I want. So everybody's getting these nice jackets, all this other shit, and she literally brought a pan of the cheesy potatoes that I sat and ate by myself.
Or Joe's walking around downtown, and he just got a phone call saying that it was all eaten. He goes by and kicks the guy's like a boom box because he's just pissed off about it. He didn't get the casserole or whatever it is. You a dead meat slime bag. And then Joe lifts his mask up and they're like, what's the big deal? You're a regular Joe. Are we supposed to be scared by this? Are you saying that you're ugly or something like that? And Joe's like,
in my mind,
puts the mask right now, walks
was
away.
It last year, or was it last Christmas or the year before, where Emily made cookies, and they had already been made like 3-4 days prior, and you're like, you got to mail those to me. Mail me some. I was like, yeah. Joe, they're gonna be stale. He's like, I don't care.
I didn't care. They were delicious. I ate the one thing right when it came. I think I ate some on the podcast, but God, those are delicious. If she does that again, I'd really appreciate
I've already decided that would be your Christmas present. I'll get Emily to make cookies. And I'll just mail them to you.
Freshly baked cookies.
I took this big ass box too, and just like put a bunch of like styrofoam and stuff in there, and I'm like, hopefully this doesn't move around too much. Not like I don't think Joe would care if any fell out in the box.
It was just a big crumbled mess of just nothing but cookie crumbs, and then Joe's sitting there like snorting it up.
he takes like a dollar bill and rolls it up.
Cutting it up there and like snorting him through like the $100 bill he got paid for destroying a Men on Card Scareglow. And hey, can you customize Scareglow into like a crack addict? We'll call him Scareblow. Like, sure, man, it's just snorting up cookie crumbs.
That's good stuff. I think she made snickerdoodles and chocolate chip cookies. Yeah. I can't remember the others. I love them chocolate chip cookies. Those were the best that she did. You go back to that. So that's heads up. All right. Well, guys, that was great. I hope you enjoyed this episode. For anybody that's new to this podcast, make sure that you like, subscribe, share, and ring that bell so you can always be notified when we go live. God, I'm getting excited. And until next time, have a powerful day.
Jack, it's an important job. I need someone I can trust. You are my number one card.
Yeah, there you go. In Batman. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say De Niro.
No, that's exactly. And I love when the Joker did that back to his number one guy.
Yeah. You mean Bob the Goon? Come on, Joe. Don't say his number one. You got to say Bob the Goon now. Don't be cheap on me.
And he kills poor Bob the Goon. I felt so bad. It just showed that the Joker didn't give a shit. I mean, even towards the end, there, boom, and he just shot him. I was like, wow.
But hey, at least he got an action figure. So.
Yeah.
He did.
Why hasn't Mattel gone back and give us like a like an up like a new like modern scale Bob the Goon figure? Damn it.
Yeah. Need some Bob the Goon.
Pretty cool. All right, guys. See you next time.